let's compare the Camellia japonicas versus the Camellia sasanquas, and which one would I recommend to you. So let's go ahead and start. So in the garden here, I have both Camellia japonicas and sasanquas. I have four of each type. Out of the japonicas, I have April Blush, and I have Early Wonder Camellia japonicas. And then out of the sasanquas, I have the October Magic series, the Pink Perflection, and another one that I don't know the variety. For some reason, I don't have the type, but it does produce white blooms. Foliage wise, the japonicas have wider leaves compared to the sasanquas. They have more narrow, smaller leaves. And as far as growth rate goes, the japonicas grow a lot slower than the sasanquas. And just based on my experience here, I like the fact that the sasanquas grow faster, especially in a new garden where you want things to kind of like grow a little bit faster. It's nice to have that if that's what you would like to have. The third difference between the two are when do they bloom. So the japonicas tend to bloom later in the season, typically in the winter all the way to the spring. With the sasanquas, they typically bloom a lot earlier. Usually you see them bloom starting in the fall, and that is great because if you live in my zone, I'm in zone 7B. I used to be 7B. Now I'm in 8A, but I just prefer to keep it at 7B. So because of that, sometimes we get freezing temperatures earlier. Like I remember winter of 2022, it was 2022, 2023. We got like really bad freezing temperature, 6 days of it around Christmas time. So that was really bad. So because of that, you're more at risk of losing your blooms for the japonicas. And then by that time, my sasanquas have already bloomed. Pretty much they finish blooming by then. So if you have like an April Blush here, you can see that it's blooming right now, but I could also see that this bloom has been this bloom has some damage to it because of the freezing temperatures that we've been having. And then I see that one has already been damaged, and this one was on its way to opening, and of course it got damaged. And I have more blooms, more buds that are here that are ready to open, and they could be, let's just say right now we have several days of good temperatures, so they could be opening up, and then if the next day we get freezing temperatures, they're obviously gonna be killed off. So that's the thing with the japonicas, at least in my zone here. They're not reliable when it comes to the blooms during the winter time. Now there are japonicas that will bloom earlier. You'll see blooms in the fall, and I have that one, which is the Early Wonder japonica. That one I've seen the blooms as early as October. In my case here, in October 2022, I did see some beautiful blooms. This year, unfortunately, I did see buds, but at some point they got eaten by the deer. So out of the japonicas, I only have 2 that have not been eaten by the deer. Of course, this one is the only one with buds. Another one I have, for some reason the bud fell off, could be because of the freezing temps, but all the other ones, they have been eaten up by the deer. And interestingly enough, all the Sasanquas have not been touched by the deer, and they're both kind of like, they're all like about equal distance to the house too. The Japonicas are in the front yard, the Sasanquas are either in the backyard or the side yard. So that was interesting. That's something that you have to be mindful of when you would like to see the blooms, and how important are the blooms to you, especially when your plants are still pretty small. The last thing that I wanted to say that are similar to both types are the zones. So both of them both grow in zones 7 to 9. So that's what they share in common. I will say too, with my zone here, if I put them in containers, I have to be very careful, and then also I have to know that I might risk losing the plants, especially if they're still small, which has happened. Like all the ones that I have in containers, except for the bigger camellias like these, they've all died. Actually, the Sasanqua that I had before, it was a big plant, and last winter 2022 2023, it got so cold, and it was probably not in the most protected spot. It was in the backyard, and it finally unfortunately it finally killed it. So I was so bummed out that I didn't have that camellia anymore, because it was my biggest Camellia Sasanquas, and it would always bloom really well for me. So yeah, so be mindful that if you are going to put them in containers, they are more susceptible to being damaged, and could possibly be killed when you have like repetitive, if you have consecutive days of freezing temperatures. You might want to, bring them in during those days of really bad freezing temperatures. So now, which type would I recommend for you to grow, especially if you're in the same zone as me? And I'm gonna say 7B or 8A. And that is, I would recommend the Camellia Sasanquas, unless you have the early wonder Japonicas. If you have Japonicas that may bloom earlier in the season, like starting in the fall, then it will be worth it. For me and for you too, I would not buy the April blush Camellia Japonica if you're in the same zone as me. Maybe if you're like 8B or maybe 9, maybe you could get the April blush. But in my zone here, it has not bloomed reliably for me, so I would not get the April blush again. But I wouldn't mind getting the early wonder Camellia Japonica if I can protect it from the deer. But I would definitely recommend the Sasanquas, because they will bloom reliably for you every season, unless maybe you get like freezing temps consecutively for days in and out in the fall. So that is it for this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and helpful, and until my next video, take care and bye for now. Oh wait, I almost forgot. So the last video, I had my son's voice in the outro, and he does different voice impressions, and he's very good at it. I'm trying to get him to do some other ones for me, but he hasn't said yes yet, so I'm using the same one as I did for the last video. So if you've not seen the last video, I would recommend that one as well. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I'm very proud of him, and I hope you enjoyed his little accent voice in the outro for this video as well.
It's me, the Mario. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell so that way you don't miss out on any more content.